Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talking Games with Kellie and I'm. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm really good. I feel like it's a lot harder to communicate now that we don't have names.
Right. Well, you did say my name, so.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting. I thought you would question me, but then you jumped on the bit.
I'm a yes and kind of person.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talking Games with I'm. Okay, now we're good.
Okay.
So we just can't say we've erased our names. We're done. No more names.
You know, in Spirited Away, when Chihiro's name gets erased, she has to fight to get it back because she can't remember it. I mean, she can't. It's not that she can't speak it. Well, you've seen the movie. I don't know why I'm explaining it to you.
You're explaining to the audience.
Right.
I'm excited to talk about Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. I feel like I should explain that because we talk about the games played at the end of the show, and I don't want people to not understand the bit.
I'm sure that you saying that just then, the man who erased his name, was enough of an explainer for our audience.
Yeah. It's pretty distinct. I mean, that's a pretty memorable name.
Right.
The man who erased his name.
It's not there anymore.
Yeah. It's really confusing because it was starring, a man whose name you can't say. It was very confusing.
Right.
We'll talk about that later. I'll make a bunch of bad jokes about names.
Right.
We got a boatload of news. It's a lot of good, a lot of bad. I feel like typically I kind of organize it so it's like good, bad, or it's like all the good, all the bad. We'll usually start with the bad to get it out of the way. But this is kind of like an interesting up, down, all around, left, right. It's just a random assortment. And it's going to be up and down, so put on your seatbelt. It's going to be a roller coaster.
Yeah, there's quite a bit going on here.
We'll start with some of the worst news that we were hit with this week. Night in the Woods developer, their highly anticipated follow-up Revenant Hill that was announced pretty recently during a PlayStation showcase, it's actually getting canceled. So the artist and writer Scott Benson, who is a central figure in the development, has gotten very sick over the past year, and they have decided that it is best for this game to be canceled. It was a weight on their lifestyle and making it difficult to deal with these health problems. So there's a lot of, we don't know exactly how this is going to go for Mr. Benson, but I wish him nothing but good health. I'm disappointed that the game is not going to come to fruition, but, this is the most, this is one of those, a game cancellation where I am genuinely good, please take care of yourself. Video games are important, but your health is so much more.
Yeah, it's very sad, but I think, when you see instances of devs taking care of themselves first, it's a good signifier for the rest of the industry to follow suit. People, because as we know, there's a lot of crunch, there's a lot of detrimental things to people's health that goes on in this industry. So while it's not good news, and I also want to extend well wishes, it is important that he takes this time.
Yeah, it's not good news, but it's for the best news,
Right.
And I hope that he's able to deal with these health problems in a way that, leads to a long and happy life in the end.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. It's been a long day.
Kellie's going through it. Let's all send our coffee energy to Kellie.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know what's wrong with me. I had coffee this morning.
I'm going to dox you, and I'm going to post your address online, and then a link to a Dunkin' DoorDash, and people are just going to send a bunch of coffee to your door.
Sure. And maybe some... Oh.
Maybe some what?
Sorry. I just got a pop-up on my I recently restarted my computer because we were having some technical issues at the beginning of the show.
That's a delicate way to put it.
Yeah. And now I have to like assuage all these pop-ups cropping up. Something that I wasn't expecting to crop up. Well, that might not be true. Every year on November 7th, Mass Effect fans celebrate N7 Day because it's November 7th. Typically, this is like a fan-led thing where there's like panels or like Zoom calls with the voice actors and like fan art sharing and like fan fiction. It's just like a day to celebrate Mass Effect.
Yeah.
For the people who still hold the game very closely in their hearts. I'm a big fan. Mass Effect is probably my third favorite series. And this year there was a quick tease. It was sort of teased throughout the course of the day with like a full trailer being released in snippets until the very end of the day, where the full teaser was released and we saw very briefly, a character in an N7 jacket. Which is a designation in both the trilogy and Andromeda. And then a couple days later, we kind of heard that, according to sources close to the game, reliable sources, that it will still be quite a few years until the game comes out. This is not surprising to me, and I kind of said as much. Because BioWare at this point, they don't have a ton to show, so they kind of just have to build hype around projects based on nostalgia. And I was of a clear mind that the next Mass Effect was not happening until Dragon Age 4 came out, which I believe will come out next year in 2024. I believe it will come out fall 2024. Mass Effect, I really don't know. I would venture to guess 2026 or 2027, which seem very far off. But realistically, if you think about it, the team is sort of split. Marketing at BioWare is split. And obviously, the studio is in disarray because of all those layoffs that happened a couple months ago. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that I was like super excited when I saw this teaser. It didn't really show us anything like revolutionary or new. I think the poster was a little bit more illuminating in terms of like what we may be dealing with in a new Mass Effect game, because there were, in the little tiny picture, there were images of aliens from both the original trilogy and Andromeda. So it does seem to be a sort of mixing of the worlds, which to me is exciting because I think Andromeda had a lot of potential. And I still staunchly stand by that. I believe it was a good space game. It was not a good Mass Effect game. So anyway, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the story there. Not a whole lot going on, but it was significant enough that, maybe down the line we'll see some more in like a year or two at the game shows or the Game Awards. Not this year, though.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's several years off made me feel a little bit like, I guess it's not that controversial to say what was the point of this. Like, I get the idea that it's like, oh, it's N7 Day, we got to do something. But I'm also like, I think it's better to just post something saying, like, thank you, fans, for being dedicated to us. But, like, I guess also they did announce it already, so
I think Mass Effect fans are very spoiled. And I say this as one, and I say it as a Dragon Age fan first. I think Mass Effect fans are very spoiled. You guys got a game in 2017, okay? You guys got a teaser trailer for a new game in 2020, and you got another teaser in 2023. So, I'm just saying, like, being like, we want to see something on N7 Day. It's like, okay, you guys, you've seen a lot already, and you know that Dragon Age is probably going to come out first. So I would temper your expectations into thinking that this is going to be a big Mass Effect game coming like next year.
Is there any chance that you think, I don't want to say it, but is there any chance you think that Mass Effect comes first?
No.
Okay. You think there's no chance?
I don't think so. I am of a mind that based on what we've seen leak-wise with Dragon Age, that they are a lot farther along in production than Mass Effect. I don't even think Mass Effect, the team is done writing the game yet. And I am almost 99% positive that the Dragon Age team is done writing the game because they laid off writers who pretty much said as much, that their work on Dreadwolf is done. So
I very much hope you're correct.
I mean, if it doesn't, then it's like, I don't even know what to say at this point. I mean, there are games with very, very long periods in between them coming out. If you think about it, Baldur's Gate 2 came out in like 2003, and Baldur's Gate 3 came out in 2023, but they're also two different stories.
I was going to say, they also have the luxury of, like, yes, huge budget, but also technically independent, whereas EA is obviously incomparable in, like, their scope. You know, it's gigantic.
Yeah. I think there's some interesting news that I actually saw right before we started recording.
About?
Dragon Age 4.
Oh, it's not on the list. Do share.
Well, it's basically just that there was some devs on LinkedIn who pretty much claimed that it was coming out in 2024, and then they took that information out. So
I will say, and this is bad because I shouldn't put this out into the ether, but I'm concerned if it isn't at the Game Awards.
Yeah, I think if
the Game Awards comes and goes, which it sucks because I think that's a possibility. I'm not saying it's a shoo-in for the Game Awards. I'm simply saying if it's not at the Game Awards, I am concerned for it.
I think that would be kind of crazy. My thought is sometimes BioWare like tells us, like last year they were like, we're not going to be at the Game Awards, just so you know. And I can't remember when they told us, but
I think it's pretty close.
They've been very quiet, so we'll see what happens. They've been very, very quiet about Dragon Age, whereas last year they were like, "Oh, we'll send you updates later in the year," and then they did, and then it was pretty non-substantial. But they've been very quiet this year, so
it's the combination of me hoping that they're waiting till like the game is ready to be shown before they actually show it, but then also they're showing this trailer for Mass Effect, so I'm like, well, clearly that's not actually much of a priority for them.
Yeah, I think they know that the fans are kind of over it in terms of like, okay, we've seen 2 teasers that say absolutely nothing beyond what we already know.
Yeah.
So I think that they know that the next thing we would like to see would be more substantial.
I hope it is for everybody's sake, especially yours.
Hey, thanks.
To shift a little bit, Remedy, studio behind newly released Alan Wake 2, as well as Control and other games of a similar stature. We knew for a while they've been working on a live service multiplayer game, a free-to-play one. I've always thought that sounded like a silly, bad idea for Remedy, who's a very, very single-player, story-driven developer. Well, good news. They have decided, and they said in an investor post, that they are shifting away from free-to-play and instead are making a premium product, meaning, $70, well, $60, $70. And it'll be a cooperative multiplayer component with a strong cooperative multiplayer component. This reads to me like they are making a game you can play alone. That is not confirmed, but it's weird to me. Just the phrasing. A premium game with a strong cooperative multiplayer component reads to me like a game that could just be, a story-based game that you're able to play with friends. And it's baked into the very core of the game. Like, think of something like Resident Evil 5. It's like that game is a story-based linear game that you are perfectly capable of playing with friends. Or like Baldur's Gate 3, right?
Yes.
So that's how I'm hoping I'm hoping I'm reading it right. Do you disagree? Agree?
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, I also hope that you are right. The wording is very odd to me.
It's very investory.
Yeah. I don't necessarily know. I mean, free to play would really be totally multiplayer. Whereas premium game with a strong cooperative multiplayer component doesn't really tell me anything in terms of like, will there be a story? Will it be like a story that's sort of baked in the level design? I don't really know. So we'll see.
It makes me excited that it's not free to play, because I honestly, we're at a phase where like free to play in my brain is a bad thing, you know, because it means it will have monetization that I think can hinder a game, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion.
I
think that's a pretty common opinion, but
I would say that a free to play Remedy game
that sounds terrible.
Utilize some sort of battle pass or something like that would be bad. Yes. That does not sound good to me.
It ain't happening. Maybe Alan Wake 2's great success is driving that decision. Who knows? Because that just happened. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what turns up here. On the flip, well, maybe not the flip side so much, but Warner Brothers has basically said that they want to turn their big franchises into multiplayer games or live service games.
Cool.
I don't really know what this means.
This means bad.
I mean,
means Suicide Squad is the start.
To
me.
Yeah. Well, Warner Brothers, what else do they own?
Batman.
Besides the DC stuff.
They did Multiverses, which really leans
Oh,
into
yeah, that's
that.
like Scooby-Doo and stuff. And LeBron James.
Yeah, and I don't know if they'll... I don't know if they'll do, what's it called? Another Shadow of... What is that franchise called? Shadow of Mordor? Because it's Shadow of Mordor, then Shadow of War. Is it?
I don't know.
Shadow of?
Maybe.
I mean, it sucks, but... I mean, Mortal Kombat is kind... It's not live service, though. It just is a game that has DLC, right?
Well, isn't it live service? Because you're playing online.
Yeah, but I feel I'm checking right now if it has microtransactions. Because in my brain, live service means like a consistent stream of small updates.
Well, you can buy like fatalities and stuff.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a... I would say that's a live service game then, yeah.
My thinking is that there's been a lot of people see the money where the money goes, and the money is going with collaborations and crossovers. Think about how much money Fortnite has made just by incorporating like Spider-Man and Stranger Things and all these different anime characters like Attack on Titan and Dragon Ball Z.
I would just hope that the release of Hogwarts earlier this year would have shown them that non-live service games can be successful. I'm not saying like how I feel about the game. I'm just saying that's a single player game that released and it was immensely successful. So
but it doesn't have I think the thing that with Hogwarts is didn't have longevity. People don't talk about that game anymore. They talk about games that they can still pay for.
You're not talking about your Switch port that you're totally going to buy?
Yeah, I'm totally going to buy that on Switch because I bought it anyway. Actually, it was played in this household. Reed bought it.
Pre-owned?
Used.
Yeah.
And he played it. And I have to say, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Dragon Age fan, but if you looked at a gameplay comparison, the UI between Dragon Age Inquisition and Hogwarts Legacy is astoundingly similar.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's very odd. I mean, I'm sure when Hogwarts Legacy began development, it probably was in like 2015 or 2016 when Dragon Age Inquisition was sort of still fresh, but
that's kind of hilarious. I didn't know that.
Yeah. But anyway, this doesn't particularly shock me because, like I said, I feel like crossover is really where the money is right now, especially in video games.
Yeah.
Think about like Fortnite and like games like Multiverses, which isn't really popular anymore, but
well, it's not. You can't play it anymore.
Right.
Because it exited early access and then went away instead of going out to release, which is weird.
Right. But like even Super Smash Brothers, who's sort of the like progenitor of this trend,
Yeah.
Obviously still very popular, and like Dead by Daylight. Chucky's coming to Dead by Daylight now, so it's kind of like there's all sorts of crossovers, and I think that's really where the money is, and Warner Brothers is probably trying to capitalize on that because there's a lot of money in Batman.
I think what confuses me about that and what you're saying, not that you're confusing, is that Warner Brothers owns the things that cross over into everything. You know? Like if you're playing the Suicide Squad game, you're not going to be like, featuring Goku. The Suicide Squad will appear in Fortnite, but you can't take all of the crazy crossover stuff and put it in something like Suicide Squad. And the one exception to that is, of course, Multiverses, since that is a crossover game. But I don't know. I think that this is a bad move. I think the live service, there's like a live service fall off right now that's starting to happen, and I'm hoping it hits a lot of foolish publishers hard, and that hopefully they let their developers kind of pivot, kind of like what Remedy's doing. That gives me hope, I guess. But another thing that's giving me hope to close out this live service discussion is that Sony has confirmed that half of its upcoming live service games, there are 12 of them, have been delayed. So we've known about these for a while now, but now they are coming out by March 2026. So that's bad.
It's bad.
What's bad that it for them that they pushed everything. Well, I'm sorry, did not push everything. They pushed half of them by at least a year.
Yeah.
2026 will be gearing up for PlayStation 6.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't want to think about that. But that's just like, I hope that this, combined with the Jim Ryan stuff, combined with the immense success of Spider-Man 2, I just hope that PlayStation's priorities are starting to maybe realign somewhere more productive and more positive for video games in general.
Yeah, I feel like we will probably see the trend in... I mean, Sony was really all in on the live service a couple months ago even. And now it feels like they're very much like, never mind. Probably because they saw the reaction to that awful State of Play they did back in like July or whatever that was.
Yeah.
But
and it sounds like Bungie is falling apart at the seams.
I know.
And that Last of Us multiplayer game is crumbling under its own weight, apparently.
I feel like that game was destined to fail regardless of... It just feels like...
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And The Last of Us, the original Last of Us had multiplayer anyway. So it was kind of like they were just expanding on that, but...
Now it's too big for its own britches.
Yeah, and it's just... there are certain multiplayer games that I feel like you can tell when they're going to last a long time. And... I don't know. It was just, it didn't have the sauce, I don't think.
I'll speak on personal experience. As somebody who once became too big for his own britches, it doesn't feel good. And I'm sure that's how Naughty Dog feels.
Yeah.
And I can watch my calories, but Naughty Dog is simply going to have millions of dollars lost, is what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like an Uncharted multiplayer game would make more sense to me. But even that, it's like, I don't really know.
I just feel like make multiplayer modes for your games again, if that's what you want to do.
Right. But they're not really making... I mean, maybe they are. But if you think about their output, like, a couple years ago, they had, like, what? They had Uncharted 4 in 2016.
Yeah.
And then they had The Last of Us... Well, I guess it was 4 years in between those games.
Yeah, but...
And it's only been 3 years since The Last of Us Part 2. But no, there was Uncharted Lost Legacy. That was in like 2017, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was August of 17.
I feel like their output was maybe a little bit faster, but now that I'm saying that, 17, 20, that's 3 years. It's 2023. It's been 3 years, so...
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. It's also the fact that Uncharted 4 had multiplayer.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand where... I don't know. I'm not going to question it. I just think I think Sony is getting what's coming to them to an extent. You know, it's sort of just like a consequence of their actions, and it just sucks because they have all this money invested, and we know because of what we've been seeing, especially this year, is that their response is probably going to be shut studios down, lay people off, reshuffle assets instead of just letting those studios pivot. Keep all the people, be like, all right, you're making single player games now. Maybe like lower budget single player games that can satisfy a different market.
Yeah. I don't know. But I do know. What I do know is that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 had a development time of, any guesses? Oh, wait, you already know. 16 months, which is just a little over a year. Reviews for this game, quote unquote, are very bad. And it turns out that it was originally just supposed to be DLC for the Modern Warfare 2 that came out last year.
Yeah.
So not great all around. Activision. Who even makes these games anymore?
I think this one was Sledgehammer. Let me confirm. Yeah, I mean, it sits at a solid 58 aggregate score.
That's really, really bad.
This one was Sledgehammer and Infinity Ward, and
Okay.
Ravensoft, and Toys for Bob, and High Moon Studios, and Demonware, and Beanox, and Treyarch. So everybody.
Well,
it was everybody actually.
Well, here's the sad thing, is that the people who made this game were working day and night over the weekend, staying at the office, missing important life events for Modern Warfare 3 and a 55 aggregate review score on OpenCritic. It's very sad. It makes me angry. And it makes you realize how stupid these release schedules are, especially when, like, I don't know, a year ago, they were basically like, we're not going to do yearly releases for Modern Warfare or for Call of Duty anymore. And now they're doing like less than yearly releases. This was half the time that it took to make Modern Warfare 2. This was done in half the amount of time of that.
Yeah. It's just not fair to the people working on these games, especially because they were, I mean, these are all technically reports, so take it with a grain of salt, but like these people were all told they were working on DLC. And then late after they had already started, they actually were told, you know what, pivot, it's a full game. And then, you know, a natural response would be, oh, cool, how much more time do we have? And Activision's response was, no.
Yeah, that's insane.
Get to it, is what they said, which is just unreasonable. And, you know, it makes sense that it is the worst reviewed Call of Duty game. Do you want to talk about something good after all that?
Yeah, let's talk about something that will make me happy.
Okay. Well, there is one other bad news, but I have good news first.
What's your
good news? Then you
news?
get the bad news.
Oh, great. What's your good news then?
Super Mario Bros. Wonder is the fastest selling Mario game ever in the history of mankind.
Can I say something?
What?
In the spreadsheet, you wrote fattest selling Mario game. Was that intentional?
No.
Oh.
It sold 4.3 million fat stacks of games. It sold 4.3 million copies in 2 weeks, making it the fastest selling Mario game of all time at the moment. Well, for now, you know, who knows what'll happen next.
I'm sure the next one will sell even faster, honestly,
yeah.
Especially if it's like a new Mario Party.
You think Mario Party is going to outsell Super Mario Bros. Wonder?
Sure.
That take is...
You know how many normies play Mario Party?
I feel like that take is hotter than like the sun.
I don't think it's that hot of a take. A lot of people play Mario Party. A lot of people play Mario Kart.
Mario Kart, yeah, that I could see.
But I don't think we're getting a new Mario Kart game for some time. So
I think it might be next year on the new console.
Let's pump the brakes.
Let's pump the brakes.
Get it?
It might, yeah, but I think it might be on the next console. That's my
but who knows?
take. Like next year.
Yeah,
like I think it might launch in September on the new console.
Right. September.
Or October.
or
Or November
October
even.
or November, right?
I feel like you're coming at my takes now.
No, not at all. I just feel like
The audience can't see your face of disdain for me.
I feel like it's interesting that you have put forth this September release for a new Nintendo console. That's all. I'm not saying it's correct. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not judging you for that take. And I'm not trying to argue about it. I just think it's an interesting time and date for you to put that forth.
I just think late next year and September makes sense in my brain. And I've also heard that thrown around and it made sense. Another bit of this story, though, Pikmin 4 is the best-selling Pikmin game ever, surpassing the sales of 1, 2, and 3 all mushed together. It sold 2.6 million, which might not sound like a whole lot, but that is literally more than 1, 2, and 3 combined. This series is growing. It is still not Mario levels, obviously, but the sheer fact that this game sold more than the entire other games combined gives me a lot of excitement. I'm very hopeful for the future, and I do hope that this means that Pikmin will get even more time in the spotlight.
Pikmin.
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 Well, I'm happy for the little Pikmins. I'm happy for the little dog who's not a dog, but an alien.
Ochi.
Ochi, yes.
Such a good name.
Yes. But as Andrew mentioned earlier, he had good news, and now I get to give you bad news because he likes when I am upset. I'm just joking.
Wouldn't you still be upset if I said it?
Yeah, but I have to say, it's like, I'm upset because I have to be the one to deliver the news.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's
I'm
all right.
not that sorry. I don't have much sympathy for you, so.
Thanks. Appreciate it. So we all know that Embracer Embracer Group, they bought Volition out and then they closed Volition down, right?
Yep.
Well, they're doing the exact same thing to the developers of the game Time Splitters, Free Radical Design. So this is according to Embracer's restructuring program, which seems to us now to just be sort of a gentle way of saying that we're shutting a bunch of studios down. So
I just am confused because it was 2 years ago that this studio was brought back to life. Like, because the studio had gone away. Just one of those things that kind of passed on with time. But now it's gone again. And I'm confused what Embracer's goal was, and I'm confused why Embracer keeps doing this. Also, the end of this article has like a list of all of the companies impacted by layoffs at the end of it from this year. And I'm just like, this year is just absurd for video game companies.
Yeah, I think that this is a very tumultuous industry. I don't think it. I know it. It's a very tumultuous industry, and I think maybe this is sort of goes hand in hand with this restructuring of like live service versus single player versus, premium games with strong multiplayer components.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's just in a shaky spot right now because the consumers kind of want different things, and I think some of these studios just can't. I think video games have just become very, very expensive to make. And I think a lot of these studios just can't afford it anymore. And they get bought out by these big groups, and these big groups say, okay, you're not producing, so you got to go.
And it's also frustrating because it's like unrealistic expectations. And like Time Splitters is a great B-tier game. Why can't we make more B-tier games that cost less than $100 million to make? Make games that are AA games. Less extremely expensive, but still high quality. Don't need to be incredibly photorealistic. They could just be games,
Yeah.
Well, let's stop talking about video games.
Okay.
For a minute, let's just stop talking about video games and instead talk about The Legend of Zelda.
Yes. Not a video game.
No, it's not a video game, Kelly.
What is it then?
It's The Legend of Zelda.
Wow. What?
Legend of Zelda is getting a live action movie headed by Nintendo Pictures, as well as, ironically, Sony Pictures. It's led by Avi Arad, who's worked on lots of Sony movies, such as Kelly's favorite, Venom, and Morbius, and Spider-Man. He's just essentially a visual effects guru in a sense. He works on a ton of these movies. So I don't think that the movie, like Venom and Morbius, are bad movies, but we're talking about visual effects specifically. So it might not be a bad thing that he's in charge, and it's being directed by Wes Ball, who made the Maze Runner movies, which I have not seen. Have you seen them?
No, though I was a big Dylan O'Brien fan back in the day, so it's actually quite shocking that I haven't seen them.
Well, that means that we're the biggest authority, since neither of us have seen either.
I don't think that they were like, not that they were not well received, but I don't think that they were very well reviewed.
They were better than, I think they were better than a lot of young adult book adaptations of the time, but I've not seen them. I'm not going to say anything.
I don't think that they were better than the Hunger Games, but...
Well, friend of the show Cameron says they're better than they have a right to be. I hope he doesn't mind me quoting him. So,
well, he loves being wrong, so...
Yeah, he's kind of stupid.
That's not nice. Say apologize right now. Because he's going to send you a frowny. He's going to send you a frowny face, and then you're going to feel real bad about it.
And it's also being worked on by, of course, Shigeru Miyamoto. He's working hand in hand, as he says, with Avi Arad. I don't think we'll see this movie anytime soon, but it's on the way. It's live action. It's happening. Tell me your thoughts, Kelly.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of ways that this can go wrong. I think that it being live action doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't really feel good about it being live action. I think that's the big hinge for me. I think if it was animated in any way, even if it was like computer, like the Mario, like 3D, like the Mario movie, it would bother me, but not as much as it's bothering me that it's going to be live action. I think that Link is, I don't know. It's just, it's odd to me throughout the entire life, the 30, whatever, 20 plus years that the Zelda series has existed. They have always been very insistent that Link is supposed to be a self-insert, that the player is supposed to be able to sympathize and feel like Link. And that's why Link doesn't really talk. That's why Link can be named whatever, except for in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. But I don't know. I guess I just feel like when you introduce an actor with a face who speaks outside of the movie, it's kind of like, I don't really, that's not going to feel like Link to me. That's going to feel like some guy in a Link costume, like pretending. I mean, obviously that's what acting is anyway, but I think that if they are going to pick a man for Link, I think he should be incredibly androgynous and not at all Tom Holland. So
Tom Holland is Sony's boy.
He would not be. He'd be too old for Link anyway, I think.
I'm not disagreeing. I simply have worries.
Yeah.
I think the thing for me that's confusing is, like, you talked about, like, animate it in any way. They have so many options. Like, the Zelda games have had so many different art styles.
Yeah.
I would love a movie in the style of Ocarina of Time or Wind Waker or Skyward Sword or Breath of the Wild. And I feel like they're kind of being pigeonholed into only being able to work with, like, Twilight Princess. Like, that's kind of the only option visually.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they want to, I mean, they could do whatever they want. It's a live action movie. They're probably going to I imagine it'll probably be a little bit more cartoony because, they want kids to go. Because, like, it has to be rated PG, right? I just think this was a bad decision. I think the two options are, one, make something like beautifully like serene, kind of like everybody likes to say Studio Ghibli, which I don't think ever made sense, but I liked the idea. I can't imagine Studio Ghibli doing a licensed property, especially a video game licensed property. But something like that, that's just this beautiful, serene thing that doesn't require a lot of words. Or do something like kind of like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, where it's like wondrous in a different way. I guess I don't have a lot to say. I'm just worried. Live action is throwing me for a loop.
Yeah.
And like, it's one of those things where like everybody's like, oh, like they're analyzing the director and the producer and stuff, and I'm like, I don't think any of that matters. I feel like until like it comes out, we won't really know what we're dealing with, especially because like Miyamoto is involved, which could be a good or a bad thing. We really don't know, because I think that Miyamoto was heavily involved in the Illumination Mario movie, and I still didn't like it. So his involvement's not even a guarantee of anything.
Yeah. I guess we'll see. I guess this is one of those things that we talk about, and then in a couple years we'll go and we'll see the movie together and be pleasantly surprised or unsurprised at the quality of it.
I do hope that I hope whoever plays Link is like some no-name, random little blonde boy who looks just like Link, you know?
Or girl. I think Link could be played by a girl very successfully.
I think that is extremely correct. Like, you are 100% on base. I just don't think they'll do that. I would not put money on that.
Yeah.
Especially because, like, if they're turning into a franchise.
Ugh, please don't even speak that.
Well, yeah. I just feel like if they have sequels already in mind, they might want to hire a very young man who then kind of turns into, like, a gruffer, older Link that's, like, more akin to Twilight Princess.
I think he'll start off gruffer, older. I think if we look at the material...
Yeah.
I think that it makes more sense for him to be maybe a little bit older and a little bit gruffer, a la Twilight Princess. Now, I know what you're saying about Twilight Princess. It is a very dark game, but it's also there's a lot of silliness in that game. So, I feel like...
Zelda it has that kind of baked in, the weirdness.
So I feel like if there's not silliness in this movie, then it's going to be dumb and lame and, well...
Oh, I thought you said if there's not silliness in your smoothie.
Oh,
I was like,
there's always some silliness in my smoothie. I'll tell you that much.
Kelly,
I'll be drinking those silly smoothies when I'm playing Grand Theft Auto 6 in 2024. You know what I'm saying?
2024? Bold.
Yeah, come on. 2024. If we're seeing this game in December, if we're seeing it at the Game Awards, which I think we are, I think we'll see it in 2024. Especially because we did see that alpha gameplay of it like
a billion years ago.
Last year, I think.
Yeah, it's like a year ago, I think.
So surely we're in a spot right now where the game might be coming out next year. Because Rockstar confirmed in an interesting way a post on twitter.com or X if you're nasty.
It's Twitter. I will never, ever.
Rockstar confirmed that they would be showing off Grand Theft Auto 6. We are in this tweet that I will read to you. We are very excited to let you know that in early December, we will release the first trailer for the next Grand Theft Auto. We look forward to many more years of sharing these experiences with all of you. I feel like that's a weird tweet. It's also a little bit weird because it's like, it's in a reply to another Rockstar tweet about their 25th anniversary, which is kind of crazy that Rockstar's been around for 25 years. Especially when you talk about all these game studios that just like get bought out and then shut down, and then through it all, Rockstar survives despite allegations of terrible working conditions for a time there. I don't know if it's still like that, but it definitely was when they were working on GTA 5 and like LA Noire and stuff.
Yeah.
And Red Dead, of course.
It's reportedly a lot better now. That's what
I believe it. I mean, I'm sure that the PR was bad enough that they probably cleaned up a little bit. So yeah, early December to me reads very much as the Game Awards, which are taking place on the 6th of December. So
yes.
yes.
Part of me does wonder, though, if it won't be at the Game Awards, and because realistically Rockstar could drop this on their own and it would be
Definitely.
it would get just as much buzz as all of the Game Awards.
Definitely.
So while I want it at the Game Awards because I think that makes a lot of sense, I wouldn't be surprised if they dropped it just on their own on like December 5th or something. And also, I think if it's at the Game Awards, it's like almost guaranteed to be the show closer, which would be a tiny bit disappointing because I prefer like big announcements be things we don't know about.
Yeah.
Is that reasonable?
Yeah. I think that we'll see in like 2 weeks.
I was going to say we will. That one's a guarantee now. We will also find out, since we're talking about the Game Awards, what the game of the year will be. As we've talked about, Game Awards are coming up December 7th, Thursday night. We will be watching them, that's for sure. Today, at time of recording, November 13th, we got the Game of the Year nominees. They are as follows: Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I just realized as reading those that these are all sequels.
You're right.
Not that means a lot, but
is Super Mario Wonder really a sequel?
I guess it's not a sequel to anything specific, but like it's kind of it's a new Mario. It's like a new 2D Mario, so it's an innovation, but also kind of a sequel.
Okay.
But
well,
close. That's the closest on this list to not being one.
Right. This is an interesting list.
I feel like for me, there were the two shoo-ins being Baldur's Gate and Zelda.
Yes.
Because like, not to be like too reductive, but like, it's between those two. Every year it feels like it comes down to two, and this year it is Baldur's Gate 3 or Zelda.
Yes.
The other four were up in the air, and the biggest surprise for me, I think, is Resident Evil 4.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm shocked to see Alan Wake 2 because it just came out. And also it's like, okay, sure. I feel like they were like, we need another one. What reviewed well this year?
I mean, I think, not to be conspiratorial, but Jeff and Remedy are really good friends.
Yeah, he likes that one developer, the one guy.
And he revealed Alan Wake 2, and he's shown a lot of the gameplay at his shows. So I think it makes sense to me.
I don't think there's any sneaks though. I think these games can justifiably be put on this Game of the Year list. But I do agree with you. I believe it is between Baldur's Gate and Tears of the Kingdom. I have my opinions on what I think should win, and I'm sure they won't shock anyone in the audience, but we'll talk about that in our Game of the Year episode.
Yeah, I mean, I know your answer, but I haven't decided yet, so mine will be more interesting. Well, I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, so I am not a fair...
I know.
Should I try to play it?
I think it's tough because... Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just sighing because I'm trying to decide if I play Baldur's Gate 3.
I think you really should. And I think you maybe, if you played it, you would understand why people are a little bit more... why people are a little bit more like, yeah, we want Baldur's Gate 3 to win. It just does a lot. And it's been doing a lot, and it feels like it was a real, true labor of love. And I'm not saying that against Tears of the Kingdom. I'm sure it was also a labor of love to me. With peace and love, I really enjoyed Tears of the Kingdom. Didn't finish it, but I really enjoyed it. It wasn't different enough for me to justify its existence.
Its existence, or it getting Game of the Year if it does?
Its existence. I think they could have made a new Zelda game with a new story in a new style and it would have been, to me, more worth my time.
I knew that it didn't 100% click with you, but this is kind of blowing my mind, Kelly.
I liked Tears of the Kingdom, and I had a lot of fun in the first 10 hours where I could where I was discovering all the things that I could do and all the engineering experiments that I could be a part of, but it's just not different enough for me, which is interesting because I didn't really feel that way with I don't know. I guess when you think about the other Zelda sequels, there's Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time, which in my opinion, Majora's Mask is very different from Ocarina of Time because obviously there's a whole time mechanic that did exist in Ocarina of Time, but in a different manner.
Yeah.
And Wind Waker and Phantom Hourglass, I mean, do you even really consider that? Because Phantom Hourglass was on the Game Boy, so it was. Was it DS?
I feel like Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass are more
but even
siblings.
those, it's when people think about Zelda, they're not thinking about Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass. They're thinking of Ocarina of Time. They're thinking of Breath of the Wild. They're thinking probably maybe of Twilight Princess. Those big console games that people remember playing when they were little. So I don't know. I understand, and I'm not trying to dog on Tears of the Kingdom because, like I said, I had a good time, and I did play it, and it's not like I'm oh, I hated that game. I wish I hadn't played it. I just wish that with the resources and the time that Nintendo had with it, they could have done something different altogether.
Yeah.
With the time that I've had with it, that's sort of where my final opinion lies.
Well, with the time we have left, since we're kind of pushing it, I'm going to speed round right quick through the categories, and I'm going to read them very quickly. So, Kelly, only stop me if you are like, what the heck? Or you can give me a 1 or 2 word reaction to every category.
Okay.
Best game direction is the same exact as Game of the Year. Mine is Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I think all the other categories have 5, so they had to get rid of 1. So I guess that's their way of saying Resident Evil 4 will not win.
Yeah, that's kind of mean.
Because it's 6 of 6.
Right.
Best narrative is Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, Final Fantasy 16, Marvel Spider-Man 2. I feel like week before we should do a predictions thing, right?
Yeah, I think that would be fun.
Okay, we'll make sure to do that. Best art direction, Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Mario Wonder, Tears of the Kingdom. Is something missing? Is there a snub?
I don't want to say too much because we're going to do our predictions, so I'm just trying to collect my thoughts.
Largely for the audience, but still. And also, if you feel like there's any snubs, now's a good time. Best score and music, Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
I believe Phantom Liberty should have been in this.
I believe Octopath 2 is getting hardcore snubbed on that. I love Tears of the Kingdom. Octopath 2 is another level, though. That's the one thing where I'm like, okay, that's just messed up. And I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3 or Alan Wake 2, so I cannot vouch. But
I can't believe Alan Wake 2 has been
it's the babe. It's the darling of this one.
It really is. That's kind of crazy, Jeff.
Audio design, Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Spider-Man 2, and Resident Evil 4. Performance, Ben Starr, Clive from Final Fantasy 16, Cameron Monaghan, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Idris Elba from Phantom Liberty, Melanie Liburd, I don't know if I'm saying that right, from Alan Wake 2, Neil Newbin from Baldur's Gate 3, and Yuri Lowenthal. I don't know why we got 6 on this one. I don't know why we got 6 on this one. I genuinely don't. But we did.
I think it's interesting that there's
5
one
guys.
woman, but that's okay.
Yeah, but there's also some burgers and fries because there's 5 guys.
That's true.
That was on purpose, Kelly.
Right,
accessibility, right. Diablo 4, Forza, Hi-Fi Rush, Spider-Man 2, Mortal Kombat, and Street Fighter. Games for Impact, Space for the Unbound, Chance of Senar, Goodbye Volcano High, got 1 nomination.
Woo!
My Dino Furry game.
Something for the furries, you know.
Something for the furries. Chia, Terranil, and Venba. Makes me feel like I'm talking to my cat, Ven.
Buh.
I have things to say about one of these. Best ongoing, Apex, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, Genshin. Those are 2 things. And Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
I don't think that is reasonable. It shouldn't be an ongoing. It was released as a single-player game. It was broken. They spent years fixing it. That's very good. I'm glad they've improved it. That is not what ongoing means.
Yeah.
That's just my hot take.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't agree with that. I think DLC is not the same as ongoing.
I agree.
And also, the DLC is getting nominated for separate categories.
Yeah. Yeah, that is... I don't really get that.
In this category, I'm less mad about it. Best community support, sponsored by Discord. Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy XIV, and No Man's Sky. Do you not think it should be there either?
No. I mean, I think they did a great job this year of sprucing that game up, but I think when the game... Yeah, and I think when the game is done, like it's done right now, I think it needs to be done. Like, yeah. I don't know. I think, but I also think that Final Fantasy XIV wins this stuff all the time, so it's kind of like maybe somebody else should get a shot at it.
Well, I feel like until it passes on, it's probably going to get this award, unless something goes bad. Best Indie, Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder. I find that category really interesting. I think that one will be genuinely... I wish...
It's also pixelated in this category.
It's very pixelated. You're funny. I mean, only 2 of the 5 are pixel games, but you did your best.
Oh.
Best debut indie game, Cocoon, Dredge, Pizza Tower, Venba, and Viewfinder. Why are you laughing?
I'm excited for Pizza Tower to be here.
I'm excited for Pizza Tower. There's a there's a indie showcase from Nintendo tomorrow, which, we'll talk about it next week if there's anything big. But I really hope we get Pizza Tower on Switch, because I want to play that game. Best mobile game, Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, Hello Kitty Island Adventure, which I've heard is actually really good. Can you play that, Kelly?
I absolutely will.
Okay, because I want to know about that game. I want you to tell me about it next week. Honkai Star Rail, Monster Hunter Now, and Terra Nil. I feel like I should play Monster Hunter Now because it's like Pokemon Go-esque.
No Genshin this year?
No. I'm going to skip best... Well, Honkai is on there, so I feel like it's kind of unfair.
Why?
Because it's the same person.
Oh.
I skipped VR. Oops.
Flop.
Action game, Armored Core 6, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Remnant 2, and Dead Island 2. Dead Island 2 pulling in at the last second with that nomination. Very odd to me. But we move on. If the Game Awards website allows me to go on.
Do you want me to do it? Best Action Adventure.
Oh, We've
got Alan Wake 2, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I had one job and I upped it up. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. A very interesting category that I believe should not exist at the Game Awards. What video game are you playing that is not an action or adventure game in some manner? I would like to play it.
Yeah. Also, I am confused if they're going to use that category, why a certain game from the next category is not there.
Yes. Best RPG, we've got Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Lies of P. Sorry, I forgot how to read Roman numerals.
Did you not remember which Final Fantasy came out this year?
I did. I forgot. It was so long ago. Sea of Stars and Starfield.
I don't think Final Fantasy 16 or Lies of P should be in this category.
I would say Final Fantasy 16 is not an RPG.
No, and Lies of P more so, but still should be an action adventure if they're going to have that category. And also Octopath 2. Huge snub here.
Yeah.
But alas.
Best fighting, we've got God of Rock, Mortal Kombat 1, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, Pocket Bravery, and Street Fighter 6.
So it's Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter is what you're saying?
I think, yes.
And it's probably Street Fighter.
Best family game, we've got Best Disney... I'm doing a really bad job. We've got Disney Illusion Island, Party Animals, Pikmin 4, Sonic Superstars, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
Why do all of them have cover art but the party animals one is just a crocodile with bling on.
Because he's really important to the game, okay?
Yeah. Also, it just says best family, and I like to imagine that it's like the Johnsons, the Smiths.
Yeah, honestly. Best simulation strategy, we've got Advance Wars 1+2, Reboot Camp, now that it's finally out. Cities Skylines 2, Company of Heroes 3, Pikmin 4, and Fire Emblem Engage, which I forgot came out this year.
Because it came out the very start of January.
Yeah. Best sports racing, we've got EA Sports Football Club FC 24, F1 23, which is driving, Forza Motorsport, which is also driving, and I'm going to really blow your mind here. Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 turbocharged, also driving, and the Crew Motorfest, also driving. You might be shocked that good sports video games are usually just driving games.
I was also surprised that you read that category. I really thought you might skip it because we don't play those ones.
Yes, somebody's husband plays sports games, but they're never nominated. So, best multiplayer, we've got Baldur's Gate 3. Okay. Diablo 4, Party Animals, Street Fighter 6, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This is also sponsored by Discord.
That's an odd one.
Very strange.
If you showed me those 5 games and said, what category is this, I would not know what to say.
Yeah, me neither. This is an interesting category. It's best adaptation. So these are movies and TV shows that have adapted video games into that form.
No, because Arcane won.
I was going to say, yeah, it was last year. I think last year was the first year.
I think it's just bigger this year because of because 3 of these, well, I guess realistically, Last of Us. Sorry, go ahead.
So the nominees this year are Castlevania Nocturne, Gran Turismo. Wasn't there also another title of this movie? Wasn't it like Gran Turismo racing game or something? Based on a true story? Wasn't that like the full name of the movie?
Yeah, but I would be surprised if Jeff included that.
The Last of Us, the HBO series, the Super Mario Brothers movie, and one sneak here, the Twisted Metal Peacock original series.
So Last of Us.
Yeah, I think we know who's taken it, unfortunately, just on the basis of its quality. Another category, we've got most anticipated game. I think this is a very interesting category, and I would disagree with some of these.
I'm confused by the selection. It seems
very
wholly random to me.
We've got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8. Now, I'm excited for Star Wars Outlaws, but that's because I think that droid is really...
Oh, the hot droid.
We don't have to talk about it, but...
This feels paid for by me. Like, Star Wars Outlaws and Tekken 8 don't make sense to me here.
I don't understand. Yeah, I guess because it's a new Star Wars series. It's not like a sequel to the Jedi games, and it's not...
it'll probably be a big
any
deal,
sort of Old Republic game. I think it'll be good. I'm really holding out hope for the droid.
Hades 2 feels like Jeff being like, I announced that. Remember?
Yeah. I will say I think Hades 2 is very anticipated.
Oh, it's probably one of my most anticipated.
But I think
also,
we'll do our
coming
predictions
out next year. It's going early access next year.
Yeah.
So
we'll do our predictions. I'm going to skip
the
content creator of the year because we don't.
I was going to say we should probably skip all the other ones because we're not going to predict the esports players of the year and stuff, right?
I think it's interesting that Overwatch 2 really got nothing.
I think it's really, really interesting that you and I were not on the content creator of the year.
I know. We're very good friends with Jeff, so it's actually quite shocking. Wait, who are you going to vote for best esports coach? See, it's
Kellie,
weird. They have like esports. I mean, they have like Overwatch teams and coaches, but they have really shut the game out. I guess maybe they just don't consider it a new game. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the Game of the Year awards. The Game Awards.
The Game Awards.
Not the Game of the Year awards. The Game of Awards. The Game of Awards. Thank you, Jeff.
Okay there, Kelly? I feel like I should probably hurry along into my review because We got kind of a long one going today.
Got a lot of news, y'all. Sorry. Can't help it.
I have some reviews to do real quick. One of which is not new. I got the physical release of Pikmin 1 plus 2. So I played, for the first time in my life, played through all of Pikmin 1 and a chunk of 2. Pikmin 1 is kind of terrible.
Ooh.
But also kind of amazing. It has aged not well in a lot of ways. I was like, oh, time to walk across a bridge with my 100 red Pikmin, as one does. And then 30 of them stepped off the bridge and killed themselves in the water.
Happens to the best of us.
The final boss jumped in the air and landed and killed 73 of my 100 Pikmin in one sit of his butt.
That's a massacre.
It was a genocide, truly.
Oh my God.
I sprouted about 1,200 Pikmin in my playthrough, and I lost about 800.
That really makes me sad. I'm not going to lie to you right now.
I killed a lot of Pikmin, Kelly. Way more than I did, like, a truly disproportionate, gargantuan sum. Way more than Pikmin 3 and 4 combined by a long shot. It's very chunky. It very much feels like an experiment learning this formula, but it's also so full of heart and so interesting and honestly just fun to play that I do highly recommend playing this game. It feels terrible for about 20 minutes while you learn how to move. Also, there's no way to manually select Pikmin type, so you have to separate all your Pikmin and then summon just one color. It's a little bit iffy, but it's also shockingly fun. It only took me about 5 hours to finish the entire thing, and that's 100%. I did everything. But I really, really liked it. And then I jumped into Pikmin 2. I've not finished it, but I'm surprised how much it polishes out. You have the ability to manually select Pikmin. The controls are generally better. I have had far fewer Pikmin end their lives on their own. I feel like it's just a generally more polished game with a lot more concise design decision. It's also a lot longer. I've probably played about 3 or 4 hours so far, and I am not near the end. I imagine this game will probably take me closer to 10, and that's okay. I'm excited. Having a great time, and it's fun to revisit these classics that I never played before. I started with 3. Obviously, I loved Pikmin 4, as any listener would know. I'm just really enjoying these classics, and it's a great game to revisit. But I also played something pertinent. I played Like a Dragon, Gaiden, the man who erased his name. Oh, the bit is back.
Here's that bit. Remember it?
Yeah, I do remember. I was going to pretend to say your name and then have a pause, but then it was just a complete sentence. So it didn't work.
I do remember it.
Yeah, it only works when I can see you and I see you pretend to talk, but there's no word. This game is a midquel. It takes place between Yakuza 6 and Yakuza Like a Dragon. It is no longer a Yakuza game. It is just Like a Dragon now. This is the second game with that new moniker. You play as Kiryu, but you don't play as Kiryu because he erased his name.
Oh.
Mild spoilers for Yakuza 6 and onward. Kiryu is quote-unquote dead. He's thought to be dead, and a corporation is like, yo bro, change your name and pretend to be dead, and we'll help you out. We'll be cool. Let's be chill. So he does. He becomes Joryu, which is so different than Kiryu.
Yeah, who could ever mistake him?
I'm a little confused. And also, they call him Kiryu a bunch in Like a Dragon, in Yakuza Like a Dragon, Yakuza 7, if you will. So I don't know. He's not good at erasing his name. And people call him Kiryu a lot in this game. And every time he just goes, I don't know who that is. You got the wrong guy. And I'm like, bro, the only disguise here is sunglasses. Get a haircut. Please. And he does in the Infinite Wealth, the newest game coming out. But why didn't he do that before? Either way, It's an interesting little game. It's under retail, so it's not $70. It's $50. It's also on Game Pass. That's how I played it, which is awesome. I'm so happy about that. Not paying for games is really, really cool. But it's a journey. It's a kind of a clash between some Yakuza families and the corporation that Kiryu Joryu is working for in this game. There's a lot of interpersonal drama, some really interesting Yakuza clan leaders in this one. They tend to be like kind of one-off characters in a lot of ways, but I think they might be tying them into like a greater story. My favorite Yakuza games are the ones that don't rely too heavily on knowledge of the series. This one relies a lot on knowing what happened in 6, which is Kiryu's last central game, and realistically, and knowing what happened in Like a Dragon, the 7th game. So I would not start with this game. It would be a very bad time. It would not make any sense. The contained story is very good, but it has like some required knowledge. Thankfully, it doesn't require you to remember a lot of people's names, because that's my weak spot, because there's about 350 Yakuza characters, and I don't know most of their names, because there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
But the gameplay is back to action instead of turn-based. Infinite Wealth, the newest Yakuza game coming out next year, will be turn-based again, but this... I feel like I'm getting some of these pronouns wrong, because I keep saying Yakuza instead of Like a Dragon. Like I feel like I'm dead naming a video game right now.
You kind of are, and I'm kind of judging you super hard for it.
Well, it's confusing also because I'm talking about Yakuza 6 and Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Right.
But this is Like a Dragon Gaiden. Anyway, I had a great time with this game. The side content's a little boring, but you don't have to do a lot of it, just a bit. And it's very, like, most of it's very speedy. If you do get into it, there's some references to other games. I know I encountered a character from the Judgment series, which just takes place in the same universe. The story goes places. I'm not going to get specific. It's not spoilery. I would be shocked if any of our listeners are planning to play Like a Dragon Gaiden, but the ending lets Kiryu feel emotions, which he doesn't do. That's kind of his thing, is he's stoic. But there's a very, very emotional, bittersweet scene at the end. And Kiryu cries, like, a lot. And it's, like, high fidelity, so there's, like, boogies coming out of his nose and stuff. Like, he looks like a man who is crying.
Dang.
And I sobbed. Like, the story leading up to that was pretty good, but the ending literally made me sob. And it kind of played into a storyline that has been going since Yakuza 3. I only got into the series in 2020, but I played through all of them, and I've been very invested for years now. So seeing that story kind of come to fruition, because it's been many, many years in game. It's been like 15 years of this storyline for the characters. So seeing it come to fruition in an interesting way with some really... I was not prepared for satisfying payoff on storylines that I assumed were just dead. So coming back to those storylines and seeing such a satisfying play out, it really just hit me. And then Kiryu reacts in the same way I did. Like, I started to feel a little emotional, and then and then you just hear Kiryu crying a little bit, and I was like, oh no, like, this is gonna hit me. It's like when you see somebody that doesn't cry much, you see them cry, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna cry now.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it felt, because I played a dozen Yakuza games almost, and Kiryu doesn't show emotion very often. So seeing him feel was really impressive. It was really well done, and it tied into Infinite Wealth a little bit. It came with a demo for Infinite Wealth, the newest Yakuza game. The newest Like a Dragon game. I didn't play the demo because that game is coming out in 10 weeks.
What?
The fact that they released they released this game, and it is short. It took me 10 hours. It's short for like a Dragon game, but there's another one coming out in 10 weeks, like a full one, a giant one. I just don't understand how they're able to do that.
Like a premium game with a strong multiplayer component.
You know what? It is a premium game, and there are multiple characters, so it's kind of, but not at all.
Oh.
I also will be paying $0 for that one too, because it's also on Game Pass.
Game Pass.
I kind of
Game
lost.
Smash.
Were you about to say something else?
No.
Well, something else that rhymes with pass?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't going to say anything else.
You should probably say it right now, though, because the audience is curious what you might say. That sounded gross. Like, that sounded really... I know you can't hear yourself in your headphones, but that sounded terrible.
Well, I had to obscure it so we didn't get hit with that fat E. You know what I'm saying?
I decide if we have the E.
Whoa. All right. I didn't know this was a dictatorship. Okay.
I didn't mean like me over you.
I decide what we say, Kelly.
No. There's a little checkbox on the publish window that decides if it has an E. And I think if you swore right now and somebody reported us and it didn't have the E, then we'd get in trouble.
Poop.
I just checked the E box. Safety first. Also, that word that rhymes with pass is not an E check.
Ass!
Thanks, everybody. I'm done talking about Like a Dragon. Like a Dragon Gaiden was great. If you have Game Pass, play the other ones. Don't start with this one. They have all the Yakuza games on there. So if you want to dive headfirst into a great series, the only game that I have not really loved was Like a Dragon Ishin, which the whole thing is like it takes place in like the distant Japanese past, which means there's no Yakuza, and that's kind of why I like it. So, but alas, that's it. That's like I was talking with someone, and I was talking with a friend of the show, Cameron. I don't know why I'm being cagey about who it was. 2023 is kind of over.
It's Jover.
Oh no, stop.
It's so Jover.
But like, we have Mario RPG coming out in a few days, which is cool, but that's a remake and kind of not hugely mainstream. And then we have the Avatar game, which probably will sell a lot of copies, but that's kind of it. This year's coming to close.
That's it.
And we read those Game Awards nominees, and like it kind of hit me. I'm like, oh my god, it's happening.
Yeah, it's been a crazy year for video games. I think it's been a really great year for the actual games. I think it's been a bad year for studios.
Yeah, I feel like in that pre-Game Awards episode, we should probably do like a small year recap.
Year in review.
Because we've never done that. Yeah, we've never done. Well, we'll play it by year. No promises, but that might be something we could bake in.
We'll play it by year.
Dab.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Talking Games with, and we are so excited for you to listen to our episode next week too. I hope you have an awesome Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but not your weekend. Just kidding. I hope you have an awesome weekend too. Thanks for listening, everybody.